Oh, well, here we are, going live. Great to be here again for this second episode of the Astral Vortex, a weekly series I'll be doing, and I'll just make sure that when comments do come, that I can see them. So, look, welcome once again, as I said, to this series I'm doing on astral travel. Many of you who are probably tuning in know me and probably know what I do and the kind of thing I talk about. And last week, you can have a look on my YouTube page, but last week we talked about um, kind of the things that are blocking you from the experience, the things that are blocking people from the conscious astral experience. And I think the biggest takeaway from that, and I've been thinking about that today because I was taking a client with a one-on-one through the whole astral thing, is to realize that astral awareness is actually not an add-on. It's actually a kind of a burning off of all of those layers of kind of encrusted consciousness around us that block us from the experience. So what I'm saying is astral awareness is not an add-on. The add-on is all the programs we have stopping us from doing this. And I say that because we're all leaving our bodies at night. Generally before dawn, everybody leaves their body. And I've seen this in the astral, like literally being in this what I call fourth dimension, like real-time astral, which is like being a ghost in this reality, which was fascinating to watch. And I'd see astral bodies actually are like these kind of light bodies, translucent bodies, looking very similar to the bodies of the actual host or the human. And I'd see these bodies just kind of going out of phase with physical body before dawn, then all these beautiful energies and the chakras being lit up in the astral body. It was quite a sight to behold. And then, so all these vital energies would enter the astral body, then lower back down to the physical. And in the beginning, I was wondering, what am I witnessing here? And what I've realized over time in my own adventures, having had a lot of astral time, is that it's actually an innate sense. So anything blocking us, that's the unnatural thing. As humans, what if we're meant to experience this? And particularly in a Western society, there are so many blockages, and I think so many distractions. Like, perhaps our society is almost designed to distract us from these very real transformative tools that we have within our system. So the takeaway from last week was what's blocking you, and we talked about that, and in the end, that's kind of a good segue into this week when we talk about those negative entities or energies, experiences people have, because I have so many students and clients coming in with me, and they're asking me all these questions about, like, something, they felt a weight on their chest, or there's some monster popped up at the end of the bed. So it all gets back to resonance, and it really does. It really does. And this is when I realized the astral experience is actually a tool for spiritual transformation or spiritual growth. I'd actually have to say that. Whereas in the beginning, I was a total maverick and I was just seeing what I could do. I was actually trying to, surprise people and scare people in the astral, which you could do, um, and influence and see if I could influence people, which you could do. And it got to a point. I might have mentioned this last week, but it got to a point where I flew down. Someone had just come out of a church, actually. I flew down, and I was an angry young man when I was getting out of body in the beginning, and I said something like "Jesus loves you" or something, but very loud in that person's aura, and they sort of had a start. They sort of came to. They couldn't see me, of course, but they were a physical person. And then behind me, there was like, I'd have to say, it was like a Brad Pittian character, uh, out of that. Remember that film about meeting Joe Black, I think it was called. And he said, "Greg, don't do that again." And it was kind of in a loving way. It wasn't even over admonishing, but it was just like, don't go around scaring people and doing these sorts of things. And it was comforting because I realized that there was actually some order in the astral. I realized that there was some guardianship going on. And I would have mentioned before too that discovering my guides in the astral, to realize that the astral is a very guided experience. So what I realized was that really, I'd have to say everything that happens in the astral is in your favor, even though at the time when it happens, you may think that this is really scary, or how can this possibly be in my favor? So, and I'll get into that now. What I'm basically saying is that we all carry some kind of resonance. Like right now, you're sitting there, you are an actual vibration. Your body is there, your physical body is there. So you're emanating a vibration. Everybody's emanating a vibration. And right now, for instance, I'm living in Brisbane, and there's a lot of fear out there now because I think this time tomorrow we're supposed to be being hit with a cyclone, the first time in 50 years. Everybody's being told that there's going to be power outages for days. Get water, get generators, all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of you can feel the palpable fear, rightly or wrongly, in the people in the collective consciousness. So what I found is, as humans, we're actually streaming like a resident fear. So what I mean by that is, um, the very things that every astral traveler say that when they get out of body, they lose the fear of death. So we are literally, the average person is resonating a fear of death. That's why mainstream news will always start with who died. And that's sort of to promote almost that level of fear, whether deliberately or not, that's not the issue. But that's the first kind of current affairs, literally a current moving through you. So I talk a lot in my workshops and teachings about becoming less reactive, and astral travel teaches you to be less reactive, because if you are less reactive, you have more astral time, you have more astral hang time. If you're less reactive, got less chance of being bolted back into your physical body. So it's really okay. Like in the beginning, I'll tell you, in the beginning, my very first experience was this beautiful ball of white light coming into my brow, into my third eye, and it came into my heart as well. And the feeling was, do you want to come with me? And I thought, yeah, let's go. And I literally went down a wormhole. I hadn't heard of the expression wormhole. I wasn't familiar with that. But then just a week later, I saw the Jodie Foster movie Contact, which I really recommend you watching. And she goes down a wormhole to connect with this other planet, or to realize that there are others. And that was exactly the experience I had before seeing that movie. And so it was a very heartfelt experience I had. It was the first experiences I had were very blissful, and there's a lot of fantastic energy. Then often I go out and that energy wasn't there, and it was just kind of like, do I take that risk? I talked last week about the call to adventure. Do I take that risk? Do I take that challenge? And it's a real yeah. I mean, what I mean by that is, um, as I've mentioned, the astral dimensions are so real, so vivid. You know that there's something very real about these things and very transformative, because you have an experience in the astral and you immediately embody it. You learn straight from source, if you like. So when I was having negative experiences getting out, like sometimes there'd be a monster at the end of the bed, like some kind of furry monster, and I'd just swear at it, or I'd say to something, in the name of Jesus. I'd react however I react, and that's what I'd say to you all. You just react like you would in this reality. If maybe a dog, when you're a kid, is growling at you, it doesn't happen so much as an adult. But I used to get up to a lot of mischief as kids. I remember one time, running away from a pack of dogs and climbing a tree to get away from them. I think I was probably teasing the dogs, but that's my personality, a bit of a tease. So, and I dealt with it, and it's the same in the astral. My take is this: is that all of these like myths and archetypes are actually embodied forms of fears, if you like, of human stories and fears and things we generate in these karmic realms, to do with trauma. So, for instance, we read Grimm's fairy tales, and there's all these kind of things, and you actually see those creatures out there. You see these fairy tale kind of creatures out there, like dragons and Medusa-like witches, gremlins, little devils running around. So the reason we have these stories are they're actually designed to prepare us for when that happens. They're actually designed to prepare the human psyche that this will happen. Because I mean, it's good to know, like if you're going to do anything adventurous, it's good to know what's going to happen. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means it's being prepared. So I tell you, I've had my share of interesting meetings, and one incredible meeting I had was, I was getting out of my body quite a bit, and then one week I'd often go into the void when I got out of my body, and and I came across, so I'm in this void, a very dark space, and we're told, as I mentioned last week, that dark is scary. I'm in this space called the void, which is often like a waiting room to the astral. And there was this woman there, like a really, but like a witch kind of thing, or like a Medusa character. Like she was, her skin was made of maggots, and the stench in the astral was so strong, and her hair was like worms and serpents. So her whole face and being were like these crawling insects and maggots. So it was the feeling of a really evil, dark vibe. And this was quite a way in my kind of astral experiences this many years ago. Every night I get out, I was confronted by this being, and she would hurl these energy balls at me. And I remember I'd wake up, I'd come to, and I'd actually got hit by an energy ball in my left shoulder, and it hurt. And I remember thinking, okay, I've reached some critical point here in my astral development, and I knew enough to go on with it. I knew I wasn't going mad, but I wasn't telling people at this stage about what I was doing. I was just doing it myself, so it was a bit freaky. So I thought, should I seek help? Am I going mad, or will I keep going? I just kept going. So after a few nights of this going on, I could defend myself from her balls. And some people will tell me it sounds like, Buffy the Dragon Slayer. I don't even watch that show, or the Vampire Slayer. Um, I don't even watch those shows, but I found I could hurl this energy in the astral and hit her energy balls and stop them from hitting me. I couldn't get a direct hit on this being. And you got to forget the intellectual aspect of is there you could psychoanalyze that, why it appears a woman. It doesn't really matter. And I'll come to I know Marie has just posted something there. I'll come to you in a second, Marie. But in this story, so eventually, after quite a few nights, this woman or this being appeared right in front of me, and I thought I would astrally puke because, this the stench, the energy, the maggots, the vibe of evil. And she addressed me by name, which often happens in the astral, and she said, Greg, you're getting good at the whole defending thing, aren't you?" I remember thinking, defending thing? What does she mean by this? Defending thing, defending thing, defending thing. And then it was absolutely voluntary, out of my heart. My heart. So your chakra system actually belongs to your astral body and high bodies. It doesn't. The chakra system correlates with like the glands, the glandular system or the endocrine system in the physical body and everything. But there you refill the chakras. So my heart chakra just opened of its own accord. I just poured this phenomenal feelings of empathy toward this being. I didn't mean to do it. It just came out of my heart. And then her face just turned to inexplicable radiance. It was just absolute light and beauty and just this lovely vibe. And she said, "You see, Greg, it's all the same." It's often very cryptic the way they speak to you in the astral, but I'm glad I stuck with it because that happened. And as I came to, I felt this waves of ecstatic bliss, which I often feel in the astral. And I realized that there was no such thing as evil. It's all the face of light seen through our own shadow. I realized the collective shadow, and I'll even talk more about this when I've blasted out of the earth and felt the collective fear. And when you recognize it not being your fear, it lets you go. It literally comes around you and holds you. When you realize it's not yours, it's gone. So I can't emphasize enough the astral is there to help us remove all of these fears. And perhaps all of these fears are the very things that restrict us, not only from being more astrally conscious as a species, but restrict us from leaving the karmic realms of the 3D. Maybe we know we're recycling ourselves. And I've actually met with entities that actually part of their nourishment is gained from the recycling of unconscious human trauma again and again. And you learn these things in the astral. I'm just going to question, I'm better at this now. So for Marie, hello Marie, how are you? Marie was at a workshop just the other day. I literally felt their fear today, trying to isolate from it. Yeah, about the cyclone. I absolutely agree. And the funny thing is, the cyclone that's about to hit us in Brisbane. My grandfather's name, he was my role model. My grandfather, I lived with him for a while when I was a kid, and his name was Alfred, and he was such a gentle man, just such a lovely, loving, gentle man, and his name was Alfred. And I'm thinking, no way is Cyclone Alfred going to be nasty to us? I know that sounds a funny thing to say, and I'm sure, there may well be flooding, but one thing I've been telling a lot of my students too is that you can actually tune into the energy of this cyclone or weather events and actually communicate with them in the astral, which is an interesting thing to do, to recognize that everything's alive. And just like the fear, I think you're meaning this particular cyclonic fear that's being perpetuated for the mainstream. Totally. So and so getting back to what I'm saying about the kind of heebie-jeebies in the astral, or the scary things. Just clicking on there. What do I do? Yeah, I don't want to mess things up too much. So getting back to these heebie-jeebie things and the scary things, I've had so many of them. Everyone in the astral will, and it all goes to refining your energies. And that's not just lip service. It's so true. So I talk about sleep hygiene because generally going to go astral at night. If you're doing astral exercise and you want to become multidimensional, generally it will happen, not always, but generally it'll happen when your physical body is asleep. It generally happens before dawn when the veil is the thinnest. That's when and what'll happen is normally either lights or vibrations will wake you up, but your body will stay asleep. Your body will be on a pilot light and you'll leave. So we prepare ourselves, and the best way is before you fall asleep at night is kind of to feel into your system and feel into what is troubling you. How are you feeling anxious? Because you want to still fall asleep not feeling anxious. You have a right not to feel anxious when you fall asleep. In fact, I do it first thing in the morning too. I go into my perfect chair, this zero gravity chair I've got, and I contemplate how I feel each morning, because a karma is also enacted upon us and through us and by us when we sleep. So we actually pick up karmic charge when we sleep as well, in our dream life, not just during waking life. So in the morning after breakfast, I'll hop in this zero gravity chair and I'll contemplate how I'm feeling. I just feel into my body, feel how do I feel after last night's sleep, because every day is kind of like a new dawn. I mean, we are accumulating psychic energy as we go through our lifetime, through certain times in our life, and even through, and what I've been shown, we accumulate psychic energy in our lifetimes, as in past lives and concurrent lives and future lives. We're all kind of, it's like a spiral, just the way the earth and the solar system is moving through the universe. Everything's like a spiral. Our chakras are like spirals as well. So it's very good morning and evening to feel into your system and feel how you're feeling. What are you holding there? Remember, we've come here for resistance training. Like, there is a lot of angst and perpetuated fears in our societies, okay? And so to realize that's nonsense, and to really get to the, it's so difficult to know what is real and what is not real, of course, but you just got to feel into what feels right. So the other thing that often happened to me before I started going consciously astral was the sleep paralysis. And, that's a very real thing, sleep paralysis. And it is related to the astral experience. If you are having sleep paralysis, it's actually a really good sign that you're on the cusp of going astral consciously. I used to go have a lot of sleep paralysis early on. So what's actually going, when I've kind of deliberately woken myself in the astral very quickly, or deliberately forced my physical body into some kind of activity during an astral experience, right, which you can do just to experiment, I've found that I've been able to open my eyes, but I haven't been able to move, and I haven't been able to make a sound, not really. You're kind of making a sound astrally. So I've deliberately, a little bit like controlled trauma, like shock therapy in cold water, I've deliberately shocked myself into a wakeful state to see how my body reacted. And it was exactly that. So if you're having sleep paralysis, it means your astral body is disengaging. As I said, everybody astral travels, just that most people, the vast majority, are doing it unconsciously. So we need to astral travel. We need to physically leave our body. And as I've said before, the astral comes from the Latin word astra, meaning star. So it is our star body. The ancients know about it. The Buddhists know about it. All of these traditions, they talk about it. I know a few Buddhist monks who we get together and talk about astral travel and stuff, and the whole karmic realms. So your astral body is leaving your physical body. This is not the add-on. Okay, the add-on is the add-ons that are being placed around us are the limitations and the blocks to having the experience. If you've gone out of body and you've had a shock, and you don't realize you're out of body, because you're just sleeping. The astral body rushes back into the physical too quickly to interface with the physical, but too quickly for the physical to wake up. So you're kind of more astral than physical. So the astral body, the physical body is left on a pilot light situation where it can try to scream out. It can try to open its eyes. It can open its eyes a little bit actually. So there's certain vital function in this area, but the body can't move. You can feel your body, but you can't move, and you can almost get a sound out, but there's no energy behind it. So what that proves to me also is that the astral body actually contains all our energy. Scientists wonder where our spark to our cells come from. They come from that. They come from our star bodies. Like, it is a scientifically proven thing now. In certain corners where they're realizing that we have this other field and that we can actually travel interdimensionally, energetically. And this is coming out in scientific journals now as well. Generally not hitting the mainstream. So it's a really good sign, the paralysis. As soon as I started going astral consciously, the paralysis stopped. So it's something that'll happen of its own accord. You don't necessarily need to do anything about that. But these, getting back to the crux of the matter is, whatever frequencies you have, the astral is going to show you what you need to deal with, how you need to be, like, it's almost like which engines you're burning as a human being that you need to give up, that you need to stop the burn. You need to be less reactive. It's helping you become less reactive. Like it's like a quick release mechanism of embodied trauma. And so this is not only your trauma, but the others from around us as well. So the best thing you can do is to tune into your body. Your body has these chakras, links with the bodies, with the glandular system. So that on the human body, like the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, third eye, sacral, and base, that they all correspond with our endocrine system. So if you're, sometimes when I'm planning to go to body and I'm a bit stressed or I'm feeling a little bit anxious, just as I feel, do I want to go to body, I will put my hands on my solar plexus if I'm feeling a throbbing there, and that will just allay the fears. So you don't even necessarily need to know what these fears are. Just like literally, energetically, just putting your hands there and just breathing into that area. That's why breath work is very good for this, and like I do energy healing with Reiki and that kind of stuff. Meditation is also very good, because every time you go into a meditative state, you're kind of moving away from the calcified energies in your field that not only block the astral experience, but that also produce resonant frequencies that will bring about so-called negative or scary situations in the astral. It's a little bit like you also can have these in lucid dreams. Like a little while ago, or a couple of years ago, I remember having a very lucid dream, and I'm in this street, and then all of a sudden I kind of turned around. I knew that something wrong was going to happen, and then this huge wolf started to run toward me. And when I think back, in that lucid dream, I was carrying that kind of at that particular time. This is a couple of years ago. Due to certain circumstances, I was carrying this kind of fear of kind of being attacked. And so I just swung around, and so I created that very real wolf in the dream. I knew I was dreaming, so I didn't really worry too much about it. In fact, in a lucid dream, if you are, this is the wonderful thing, and I learned this in the astral. If you are being challenged in a lucid dream by some kind of antagonistic energy, if you just keep your ground, don't move, don't do anything, don't even try to defend yourself, the energy, the antagonistic energy will come toward you. Like if you're going to even crash a car or fall off a cliff, allow it to happen. Allow the energy to come to you. Allow yourself to crash the car. Allow yourself to fall off the cliff. And you'll find this incredible bliss come into your field as you wake up. So what's happening and I learned this. Anyway, this is a very good use of the lucid dream if you have an antagonistic energy. If you're awake in the dream, not to control it at all, but to let it happen. And every time you let it happen, you actually burn off something within you that has that charge of that experience. So essentially, this charge within your body is being mirrored straight back at you. Now, the astral is much more lucid than a lucid dream. And I learned this technique in the astral. This is around 2012 or 13. I'd written this book about astral travel, and that was my kind of outing of my astral, self. And a lot of people from spiritual traditions said, "Do not write about astral travel. This is not good. You're not supposed to share this." And like, I'm a maverick. I'm not from any tradition. I don't care. I don't care. I felt moved to share this with people because I know it can help people, and I know it has helped people. And that was way before I knew I'd be teaching people how to astral travel. Anyway, in this astral experience, in reality, in this 3D, I'm about to launch this book. It's about to come back. It's about to be printed about my astral experiences. So I'm having an astral experience where I'm, in a beautiful landscape. Often there's trees of, like a violet color, just bizarre vegetation. And I'm about to fly over this beautiful molten lake. It's like a deep gray, shiny kind of crystal. The whole lake is like this crystalline. And often I've walked into these lakes in the astral, and I've actually felt my physical body just um, have this incredible charge from the lake. So what I'm alluding to is that the astral and the physical are intertwined. You have immediate knowledge or download or frequencies or codes coming you from a conscious astral experience. Anyway, so I'm about to fly over this beautiful lake, and behind me, I sense some kind of antagonistic vibe. I turn around, there's two men there, and I could fly off. I know I can escape, but I'm thinking, this is interesting. I haven't had a so-called scary or negative experience in the astral for a long time. So I thought, don't fly away. So I just stood there. And one of them said, "You're having a samsara moment, huh?" I remember thinking, I'll Google that. And then there's two guys, they came over, very real. Astral's very real. They came over and they started to kind of beat me, like pulverize me. And as soon as they started hitting me, and I was moved. This is the first time before all of these lucid dreams when I just let that antagonistic energy happen. I just kept my position, and I could kind of see through my body now, and they were kind of puzzled because I just felt blissful. I felt like barriers within me were being destroyed. Like as I said, these negative vibes within me, or some charge, whatever. And I sort of felt like invisible, like they were doing this. And I thought, wow, this is great. I feel great. And they were puzzled. And then I remember coming to after that and feeling really good. And then I thought, okay, not that I have these anymore. Like now when I get out of body, if I see a questionable character, or if they see me, or what I call a lower threshold astral being, and I'll get into that in a second, when they see me now, they just escape out the wall or the roof, or they're gone. They don't like to be seen. So there are certain what I call threshold beings, and they're on the threshold. That is kind of that resistant fourth dimension that's kind of quite fluid, where a lot of the archetypes are there. Human fear has birthed these archetypes. Getting back to that experience, though, I realized then that, okay, I don't need to even challenge these things. It's enough to hold your ground. So, and there's other beings in the astral I came across earlier than that, like I mentioned the witch earlier. But there's also, particularly men are prone to this particular energy kind of vampire. They're called succubi. What the succubi, how they show themselves, men's sexual energy basically are that they feed off men's sexual energy. So you know the difference. So you're having a dream. It's different to, a sensual dream. So basically what happened was I all of a sudden became astral. I opened my eyes, and there were these two kind of women there, were all sort of in kind of leather and stuff, and as I said, forget the psychoanalysts. And one woman was on top of me, and I saw it, and I realized this was kind of witchery going on. This is very real, but it's in the astral. And as soon as they saw me see them, and they were kind of screaming with delight, they were gone. And I just said, out, because I knew this was a negative energy. I knew that this was not right. And they've never come back again. And this has been, and then I would research this after the case. Like all of my experiences I research after the matter. And then I came across that the name of succubi, And so these are beings that feed off our energy, and often you know the difference. As a guy, I know the difference whether it's a positive or a negative kind of thing. You know the difference. It's as simple as that. So you don't want to enter into that. Women have the same thing. So these are kind of characters. I can say the word demonic, but what I've realized is I was actually years ago, not far from. I've been to Transylvania, Romania, but I was into. Sounds funny, but I realized that demons are actually there to help us. That comes from Deamon or Daemon. So these are they're actually guiding us through certain things. And a lot of people they've taken that wrong, and mainstream has turned it around. There's no such thing as evil, I've learned that. But a lot of these characters that appear to be somehow negative, they're teaching you to get your energy back. The average human, what I've seen, oh, sorry, I'm seeing there's probably some quick demon, yeah, D-A, thanks, Mac. Yeah. So the average human, what I've also seen in the astral is that astral beings are very present. They're very, very in your face in a good way, and very present, and can be a bit scary. And what they teach you is, as humans, we're very distracted. Our mind is all over the place. So certain traumatic events in your life, in shamanistic circles, they call that like soul retrieval, is when you call those parts of your soul back into yourself. So we have traumatic episodes in our life, high emotional episodes, and we kind of leave these shards of ourselves in past lives and this life as well. The astral is a great way to bring it back in. You can meditate in the astral and actually feel aspects of yourself come in. And one of these aspects, and what it leads to, is being aware multidimensionally. Not long ago, I'm lying in bed. Now when I go out of bed, now when I go out of body, I just slide out. I don't really have the vibrational state. So I'm lying there, just closed my eyes, didn't even feel I was asleep, but I obviously just fell under. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing this being, this woman hovering above my wife in bed next to me. And she's kind of doing these weird things in her aura. She's hovering. I'm just watching the scene. And this woman, or this being, sees me, gets a shock of her life, and just flies out the wall, out of the house. I come to, because I was actually in an astral state. My wife comes to, because she was in a bit of shock. And I said, well, what was actually happening with you then? She said, well, I was just having a nightmare. And I asked her what kind of nightmare. It was just a normal run-of-the-mill nightmare. So I realized this being, and nightmares are not a bad thing. They're stirring stuff up in our subconscious that we need to look at. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. So this being could have been playing a role that this being was designed to maybe go around and stir up certain auras. I don't know for sure. All I know is it got the shock of its life when I saw it. So a lot of these lower kind of beings, that like threshold beings, they're just there doing whatever they're doing. Sometimes there's people who are caught and they might be ghosting a little bit, but it's not that scary. In fact, as soon as you see them, as soon as you acknowledge them, as soon as they see you see them, they're going to generally depart the scene and let you move on, let you move into higher vibrational states. It's a little bit like the Van Halen belt around Earth. I remember once I was blasting out from the Earth's atmosphere. Just I was going to get away. Getting away from Earth is pretty cool. And I entered um, this kind of band of fear, and my astral body is just like taken with this phenomenal fear. And as I realize it's not mine, it's like a collective human fear. It releases me. But what I see in this band when I'm let go, I remember seeing all these. It shows off on archetypes. I remember seeing all these black helicopters and UFOs, and it showed me energetically that there were certain agreements between certain non-human races and certain humans, elite if you like, designed to keep us in a level of fear. And that was what I was experiencing. So I was experiencing the derivation of that fear. I was experiencing how that fear is actually empowered by certain structures around the earth. And as soon as you see it, it loses its grasp on you. And it can sound like, talking like this can sound kind of really scary, but if you think of the systems we have on Earth in 3D, a lot of those systems, why should we be taxed a million times? That's a scary system. Um, bumping your head. I remember playing hockey and getting whacked in the head with a hockey ball at full speed. That's scary. So the things in the astral are far less so, because you can wake up whenever you want. It's just your energetic body. And when you get really aware that you're astral, you kind of go with it. Another classic kind of demon kind of thing. I was this was before I wrote my book, just before, and I'm in the astral and I'm going down this really ancient tunnel, like it's like a stone tunnel. I'm flying down. And there's this huge being in front of me who's like in a black suit, dark hair, kind of very smart looking. And I can't get past him as much as I can. I thought, well, this is really weird. And then I wake up and I think, no, bugger that. And I go back into the astral. I'm trying again and I can't get past them. And then when I go back again, like for about the third time, there's about three others with him in these dark suits. And one of them says, his name is Dios, about this guy who's blocking me. And this Dios is looking right at me. And I'm thinking, okay, this is new. This is after this witch episode I had earlier with the that there's no evil kind of thing. And I thought, this is something different. As I pull into my bedroom and I'm awake, these dudes come like through a invisible field and they're standing at the foot of my bed. The first thing I do is the protection mechanism. I look at my wife who's sleeping next to me. It's daylight. The morning has broken, and I'm thinking, I'm very protective. I'm thinking, hang on, don't hurt her. Anyway, Dios looks at me with his posse and says, "I banish you to an eternity in prison," and then disappears. Funnily enough, I wake up. Then that day I go back to sleep and I wake up feeling really good. I actually felt really good for the next while. And what I realized was, I then went to live in Europe. I realized I was very comfortable. This guy gave me a scare, and all of a sudden, my life. This was back in the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. My life had become kind of insipidly comfortable, and for some reason, the energy of that encounter, I started to feel, even though I liked my life there, I started to feel I was in a bit of a prison, and it was really weird. I started not to like being there, and nothing would have pushed me away from there because I really liked that area. And then things happened, and then there was like a family death overseas, and I found myself living in Spain. Just before I went, I had this experience where I was meditating and I couldn't speak. It was like I wasn't a stroke, but I couldn't speak. But the narrator also left my head, so it was like a left brain freeze, which was great for being in an expanded state because it took away the narrator. But anyway, I ended up writing my book on the astral, and I went to visit an old friend of mine, a psychotherapist who lives in the border of Hungary, and she had this exercise. I can't remember exactly where you put the. I told her about that experience with Dios, and I googled it. It can mean God or false God, or whatever. So I sat with this creature, and this creature was a demon. This creature, this being, when I kind of asked him questions, and when I kind of felt his energy, it was very loving, and it was kind of like, don't mess around, buddy. Like I'd been doing music. I want to get out of professional music. I've been doing Reiki kind of on the side, and I was secret about my astral stuff. I wasn't telling people. Hello. Oh, there we go. Hello there. I'll try to keep my. That was Unseen Corporation. How are you? Parasite. Yep. Just a few things here. Yeah. It hasn't left you in 20 years. This is your demon. Parasite. Well, there's ways of getting rid of that, Mac, and there are ways of getting rid of that. But anyway, we'll talk a bit about that. So I'd been troubled slightly by this being, this Dios being, because it was such a full-on encounter, coming to the physical, banish you to an eternity in prison. I mean, that made me sit up. When I moved to Spain, and I ended up being in this little village, and as I said, I couldn't really speak because I had this experience while meditating, which had left me being unable to put a sentence together. So I started writing a book on astral travel. So I was forced after this experience with this Dios to kind of come out. Like I started writing a book on astral travel purely as a therapy to get from one end of the sentence to the other. And I kind of dropped my old life, partly because I couldn't speak as well. There was a bit of that. So the familiar was left behind. I knew I had to go into the unknown. I had to go, and I remember going to Spain, and I kind of um, I didn't exist there. Like I needed a couple of years. I had no phone. Um, I needed a couple of years. And I remember when I first got there too. I remember my female guide, one of my guides, was sitting in a chair. I woke up. This is maybe the second night of being in Spain. I wake up. I'm in there, and I see her sitting there, and she's just looking at me like that. And she says to me, what are the actual words I've written in the book? But she said something like, "Greg, ah, it'll come to me." But it's like something like, you lead a very kind of sheltered existence or a very controlled existence. So basically, they were giving me a nudge to let go even more, to let go even more, because the whole astral experience is about letting go. Are you prepared to let go, to realize this body is not everything you are? I mean, I'm fortunate because I can reverse engineer the experience. I had many astral experiences before I started to try to do it consciously because I was just being taken out. So I know it's good. I know that death is not the final thing. I know that we're here to wake up before we die. We're here to wake up before we die because we don't wish to go back into the karmic trap. That's what it's all about. So being able to reverse engineer an experience is what makes it easy. That feeling of that experience, and a lot of the meditations I do with people. And I know Marie, you were there if you're still there now, but the workshop on on Sunday, reverse engineering some of these experiences the other way out. Um, but this full on guy, this Dios, he pushed me to get very uncomfortable. But the comfortable became uncomfortable after he said, I banish you to eternity in prison, and it made me wake up. And often, what they say is something cryptic. Often in the astral, when they speak to you, it's often designed for a reaction. They want to push your buttons, and it's all in your service. It's all pro you. The whole system is designed to help you wake up. And it could have freaked out if I'd had that experience early on in my astral career. I wouldn't have gone on with the astral stuff. I would have. Well, I would not consciously anyway, because they're coming into my bedroom, like in the 3D. Like it was like, what's reality, what's not reality, and a lot of astral experiences have that. Like, what is reality, what is not. When you have aliens next to you, but they're in you there, and there's like a ship, and like, where are you? I'm in my bed, but I'm not. But it is so freaking cool. It is that call to adventure that I talked about last week. It is so freaking cool. And I mentioned the Joseph Campbell book, the Hero's Journey, and it really is just like a quick track to your evolutionary status. And so, and people have told me, don't do it, don't do it, it's too scary, too scary. Look, I've thought about it, and sometimes I've taken pauses early on, but then I thought, no, I was going out all the time on lights, and it hadn't been on my radar. The astral experience, I'd never heard of astral travel, but to meet you guides, to see past lives, to experience the death in this reality, to go into higher dimensions, these blissful dimensions, to go to places called heaven, these kind of things. It is so cool. And just to see the workings of this reality, what's going on behind this reality. And you kind of get to, because in the astral you're telepathizing all the time, you get to telepathize in this reality more. Like, the intentions of behind things, and your preemptive body, the astral body is the preemptive body, gets really charged. So you kind of in a constant state of deja vu, a very pleasurable state. It's like you're not actually here, because the physical body is within the astral body. So it's like if I touch this computer in front of me, the fingerprint where it touches the computer, that's 3D, that's you. But that's who you think you are in 3D, but you're actually this finger and this hand and this arm and this. And you actually meet your higher self, you hear your higher self speak. So every so-called scary thing, like even feeling somebody holding you when you're getting out of body. Some people have talked about pressure on their chest. That means you're getting astral, and that could just be you putting pressure on your chest, getting freaked out. I mean, it could be a lower threshold being just kind of trying to slightly scare you to see what you're made of. um, I mean, society has become a very non-resilient thing, particularly in the West. So in the best sense, astral kind of activation or astral awareness kind of brings out the joy of resilience within you, if you know what I mean. Like you're not afraid of the dark because you go to the void often. And if you're afraid of the dark, the first times I went to the void and heard the Om, also the void, and that's the realm of pre-manifest cosmos, I wouldn't have had these some amazing experiences. So often you find yourself in dark places, but that's where you put an intention out where you want to go. So it seems that we're in the realm of resistance training. It's like our spirits have chosen to come here at some stage, but I get the feeling we've gotten lost. I get the feeling the human psyche has gotten a little lost in these realms. So we're kind of addicted to the realms of resistance or the realms of trauma or suffering. So to the average human, I mean, to be in human form, okay, I know this is getting philosophical, but it actually is relevant. To be in human form, we have to have a certain amount of suffering within ourselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be experiencing the realms of 3D where we feel separation, okay? Because separation is the illusion. We are not separate. How can we be separate? You think of the first big bang of light, creative, ecstatic awareness, and in the astral, you actually see yourself connected to that. It's all within ourselves. I mean, astral bodies mean star bodies, astrum. It is Latin for star. So everything that's ever happened is within your actual body. Your body is the Akashic records. That's your access. Your body is the access to all of this. Because you see, your body is just the port of call of your greater body in 3D. The astral body exists 4D and beyond. So what I'm saying is when we can burn off reactivity, so whenever you have a highly charged emotional state, this will stay within you until you've kind of burned it off either energetically or just become aware of it. So when you contemplate how you're feeling at night before you go to sleep and when you wake up in the morning, just to contemplate how you're feeling, this awareness, shining it in you is enough to burn off certain superficial stress or tension. So just to feel in where are you holding your base chakra, because often the three lower chakras often hold your body in position when you want to go astral. Existential angst, identity, relationships, that's those lower chakras. And generally everything in 3D, well, everything is a relationship really, but we perceive all relationships as outside of ourselves. So your relationship with work, with other people, with yourself. So to burn off negative tension, the more you can burn off in 3D, the fewer obstacles you'll encounter in the astral. But if you do encounter an obstacle in the astral, just deal with it how you can. When you in the beginning, you'll swear at it. You'll say things like, why would I say in the name of Jesus? But I did, and it worked. Or I'd whack him. Once I was getting out, I was sort of crawling out of this astral cobweb in a little tunnel. I thought, okay, but I'm astral because you know the feeling. And there's a black cat sort of arching itself. I just whacked it. So you find all these ways, but as I said, now I'm kind of impassive. But I found I don't even need to be impassive. If I get out and there's any entity that is kind of up to a bit of mischief, maybe, it just tends to disappear. So, as I said, we've chosen resistance training, otherwise we wouldn't be in 3D. And perhaps we've gotten lost. Perhaps the time is to wake up in this lifetime, to wake up so that we can leave the resistance. Maybe it's our time to leave it. But while we're here and kind of addicted to suffering on a certain level, and even the Buddhists talk about this, we've just got to learn to transcend that suffering, because in the astral, for instance, you have only one unified sense. In the physical, we're taught they're separate senses, but in the astral, it's one sense. And you've got to feel it to believe it. Like you can see behind you, you know the intentions of things, you can telepathize with beings by pulling their intention out. So it seems the astral rewards very clear frequency, as in it's very, like you get a clearer view of things. So imagine 3D is like being under murky water. Like imagine you're out at sea now, and it's pretty murky out there now before the cyclone. So, and imagine during the day, if you look up and to see where the surface of the water is in this beautiful clear sky above, we're kind of 3D is kind of in that murkiness. Okay, very distracted. And once you break through that, in the astral, you pop your head up every now and then, and you feel that immense clarity and immense oneness, because you're out of time. You're not in linear parameters. There is no time. That's why it's immensely real. Okay, it's like exploding into a truer reality. When you come back into the physical, you actually feel like the clay clapped around you. And I used to really trouble me early on. The weight, but a bit by bit, that weight lifts off you when you see it for what it is. So the more, so to selfishly to go astral, I would burn off a charge here. So I'd think about, if I have an argument with someone in my family, because often family is here to give you charge or friends, I'd think, what is that? And I just sit with it. What is that? Where is it in my body? And I just put my hands there, and that may bring about some resolution in the physical or not. But just all you can do is work on your energies. But I found it does. You learn to communicate with people on a level that is congruent with both your energies. I'm not talking about being condescending, but look, you're not going to tell a 2-year-old, talk to a 2-year-old on adult themes, are you? So that's a very simplistic way of putting it. But what I'm saying is everybody you learn to relate to at their level. And I find that doesn't mean you're going to lose authentic relationships. That just means that rather than whacking them over the head with your point of view, that might not help. I know I'm getting to relationship counseling here. I'm not even a counselor. But so there's nothing to fear, is what I'm saying. But by working on your charge, because you will resonate, you will basically beam out what it is you're feeling. That's why to fall asleep and have, as I was talking about this workshop the other day, to tune into what is most heartfelt, because the heart contains empathy. The heart has that echo of unconditional love that is the cosmos. And believe me, it's not equivocal. The cosmos is unequivocal in nature. It is pure benevolence. It is pure love. There is no good and bad. That's duality. But it's all a subset of love. We've just chosen to have this cloud and this murkiness and this fear. Really, it's serving us because it's giving us that extra kind of strength in many ways, this resilience to burn through it. But to recognize it's not real. Sure, you've got to play in it, but recognize that this illusion is actually not real. That fear in any form is not real. That doesn't mean walk out under a lightning bolt, because the lightning bolt is real in 3D. It just means the fear of the lightning bolt is not real. The actual fear is not real, if you know what I mean. There's a distinction. So anyway, look, I do talk a lot about this stuff, and I'm getting better at sharing these things. I'm gonna, okay, this thing here. Good. That's my course grid. Yeah. So in my course, actually, this is my astral travel. So I do help people. A couple of people have taken this course, but I've got to share that this is quite handy because you've got downloadable MP3s and stuff. And I actually talk about, if you're on this page, it's Greg Doyle Podia. It'll be in the description of the video. But I've got some preview things here. We really have to talk the so-called scary stuff. That gets to the nitty-gritty of this scary stuff. And this has got quite a few chapters and also downloadable MP3 meditations. I would recommend any of you, if you're keen to experience that, to go there. I'm getting better at this. Yeah, good. Whoops, you didn't see that, did you? Man, I forget to press this button. Sorry, I'll go back there again. Here's that course I was talking about. This is the Astral Travel course that I help with this scene. If we go down here, this is what I was talking about. We really have to talk the so-called scary stuff, and that's a preview vid which you can click on for free and just have a look at that. And I get to the nitty-gritty. This has a lot of stuff that will help you. Plus, each chapter generally has a download MP3 download that you can do the meditations, entering the voids of beauty, leaving the body. So I think and through that course also, I talk a lot about your charge and how to sort of dissolve the charges we're carrying, because I'm convinced, as I said, everybody goes astral body at night, astral traveling at night. It's just that we're not conscious of it. So, and that's what I found. We have to go astral traveling. We have to leave our physical body to get these rejuvenative cosmic energies into our chakras and our field, and then we kind of download them into the physical. So our subconscious, as I mentioned last week, our subconscious is primed to keep you safe at all costs. And it's kind of a program that doesn't really serve you now. Maybe ancestrally generations ago. But we've hit a point in human evolution that we're kind of recognizing, and and even as I said, I've talked to Buddhist monks on this subject, and I'm not a Buddhist, but kind of these evolutionary or these karmic mechanisms that are at play at the moment are actually they're dead in the water once you see them. Once you see them for what they are, they start to lose their grip on you. So we don't necessarily need to come back into these karmic realms. The fact that you're watching this live now means this lifetime is probably a lifetime to be fully awakened, fully realized, basically to be enlightened, so that you don't have to come back into this realm of suffering. You can help other people, in the next lifetime if you want, or go on to another one. Astral travel is a fantastic transformative tool. So anything that stops us from the conscious awareness of this is actually the blockage, is the add-on. Astral travel is not the add-on, that's the add-on. These are the programs that we're constantly being bombarded with frequentially, um, from beings, non-human beings as well, but they have permission from certain human entities, and also part of our subconscious, collective subconscious, has given them permission. But once you say no as a sovereign entity, and if you are having anxious things, like I'll often say to myself, if I'm feeling a little bit disturbed in the evening, one of my great incantations will be, from the God being within me, I command any energy that is not me or not of my field, not serving me, I command you to leave my body and field now, and to be, I might say, and to be lifted, healed, and made one in the light of love. So from the God being within me, I command any energies that are not of me or not in alignment with my highest good to leave me now, to be lifted, healed, made one in the light of love. And in there early on, I would actually feel these frequencies leave me. And like I can feel them now. Now, compared to years ago, I feel so much more present. So if I'm in a big shopping center, I will put protection. I will put white light, violet flame, blue light of Archangel Michael, golden mesh of the Christ consciousness. I'll put the Christos, which is a circle and a cross all around me, because I don't want. We're in fluid realms, and that's not overly protective. That's empowering, because we are in fluid realms where a lot of people are walking around like zombies, and there's a lot of fields in these big shopping centers that are kind of emanating with negative vibrations. Perhaps the stuff's been made on the back of suffering. And so you need to distinguish the difference and what that is and what you're walking into, and have a bit of a smile at it, and empathy for it, but not get caught up in it. I do let me know if you have any questions there. G'day, Phil, how are you? I can see Phil there. Phil, my brother in New Zealand, who does very much similar kind of stuff to me. He's a Reiki master, and also is in the Franz Barden kind of school of thought, as in the Hermetics. Another one here. Okay, this is another Greg. Oh, Greg, are you familiar with the work of Ashayana Dhyana? No, I'm not actually. I'll look it up. Let me know what that's about if you've got time there. While you're doing that, I'm just going to show you also. I think I'm getting better at this. Yeah, just my website here that I've got happening. Just scrolling down a bit here, so you can see a lot of stuff on astral travel here. I've got a couple of Reiki courses coming up, but there's also, I'll just show you here. How can I do this? Yeah. I do have a nice little online program as well that's free. It's like a 7-day astral travel challenge that you can just jump in, and you get sent a video every day for 7 days. And I'm setting up the next 7 days as we speak. And also, I'll just show you the astral stuff I've got happening. And this is the astral travel page. There's meditations you can download, a bit about activation, and also Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom calls with people, and also meditations here you can download. They're quite good. And just showing you some packages where I help people one-on-one. Today I was helping someone. I had a course on the weekend. So just going back to here, getting away from that. So if you do need help, that's kind of what I'm here for. Um, and I'll just, sorry about that. I'll just hide that. M. Hi, M. How are you? I hope you're still there. So I don't always see these. Love this. Very powerful. Oh, pleasure, M. It's good to see you, Manny, and nice to you here. And yeah, I'm just hoping to help people in this. A lot more people than you realize are interested in the astral experience and are having experience with it. Like I had one woman come to me, um, and she had a couple of kids. She was in her 40s. She came to an astral workshop, and she was in tears during it. Toward the end of it, I said, "What's up?" And she said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you've told me this." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "When I was a little girl back in Israel, she grew up in Israel. She had this experience of this blissful experience of kind of connecting with the all." And she told her family, and she was like 3 years old or 4 years old. And straight away, she was told that's wrong by her spiritual guidance with the family. And she's put on medication for a whole life. She's not allowed to drive, full on medication. Here she was in her early 40s. She moved to Australia. She let it all go. She just thought it was a bad thing. Shouldn't have that experience. And she told me later on after that workshop, like she went off the medication, she would drive again because she realized that this was not a demonic thing. This was not a negative thing. Um, it is remarkable, and it made me realize. And since then, a lot of people reached out to me. What they've gone through is literally hellish because they were told this is not good. This is not good. And this goes back to that notion of the of an adventurer. Feeling that call to adventure. So, Mark, you've written there. I've conquered a lot of fears and anxieties, but in my dream state, getting the same nightmare. Okay, 15 years stuck in a loop. Okay, what I suggest you do, yeah. I know a lot of times I had that. Like I used to have these like recurring dreams of my stepfather, who, as an adult, lovely guy, but when I was a little kid, quite scary. A lot of emotional and physical abuse, right? And a few years ago, after that astral experience, where I realized, if there's an antagonistic energy, I just kind of do nothing. So normally in a lucid dream, you want to control the dream. If you're lucky enough to get lucid in the dream, and there are triggers, I might even talk about lucidity next week and triggers in lucid dreams because that is a great springboard into the astral. So I will talk about that next week on the show. So if you, with my stepfather, what I did was I was having a lucid dream. I woke up in the dream, and I was in my old house where I was when I was, a teenager. I recognized it be a dream because the surroundings were not that fixed, compared to this 3D reality. Astral's another level indeed where it becomes much more real than this. So the dream state is below the 3D state, but it's like almost going to the moon before you go to Mars. It's from the lucid state to go astral traveling is easy, and that's one thing I'll talk about next week. Anyway, in this dream, my stepfather comes toward me, and I'm sensing this real vibe. It's like back when I was a little kid, and it was like, "Argh." I was sitting there with a friend watching TV, and he said, "Greg, the TV is a little loud, isn't it?" Like it woke me up. And he's walking toward me, and I thought, okay, I'm lucid in the dream. Do I escape? Do I control the dream? Do I punch the guy out? What do I do? And I knew I had the presence of mind to do nothing. Okay. So these lucid dream states and these states when I have antagonists in the astral, I've learned to do nothing. And that takes a lot of trust. It's almost like the tiger's about to attack you. You don't move. You don't move. So I didn't move. As he came toward me, the energy, this energy built and built, and I could really feel it in my body. It was vibrating, and I'd had these dreams over and over. So this is a question. This is an answer to you, Mac. And I'd had so many dreams of him. Anyway, as he comes toward me, he's right on my shoulder, and then I feel this bliss just come through me. The last moment when he's right there, I just feel this dissolving all through my body, and this bliss move through, and I wake up, and I've got these tears of like bliss again, and it's almost like a bit like an astral experience, but it's not astral because it's from a lucid dream. But it was the effects of just dissolving that. I never had that dream again. Um, so what I would say is if you can get lucid enough, and I was taught this technique in the astral. This is my greatest teacher has been the astral. Um, And it's not a clever teacher. As I said years ago, I was unable to speak because of a thing when I meditated. But I've learnt that it doesn't have to be verbal. Like it just downloads directly into your body. You feel it. Like when I had past life a regression in the astral, and I didn't know what that was. I just knew all these past lives, and I was seeing them very vividly. And then I mentioned to someone who was a bit psychic. I said, "Oh, what happened?" They said, "That sounds like a past life regression." This was years ago, the very beginning. My whole body just went, and I knew it to be so. Um, I knew it to be so. My body embodied the realization that I have existed in previous and future and concurrent lives, and for some reason that was very healing. Like trauma within me immediately. I don't know which trauma it was. Maybe there is the trauma of being human or feeling alone. I don't know. But all that left me. And as a kid, I was very alone. I was often up the top of the tree. I was a bit different, probably on the spectrum in some way. I don't know. We didn't have those labels back then. But I used to just go up a tree and just sit up the top of a tree for hours. um, so you have immediate realization, embodiment of that, and you have a lot more respect for the physical body as well, because your physical body is an aspect of your higher print. So, Mac, I try that a little bit. I try that. Um, that's how I find it. That point of no resistance, and when you start to realize um, it's all in your favor. There's nothing adverse to you. There's nothing actually challenging you. So what I've got to this whole podcast, I want to sign off soon, is that it's all in your favor. Everything you experience in the astral, whether it from a dualistic mind perspective be so-called negative or positive, it's all in your favor. It just is that it is. Like the I am that I am. It's neutral. It's actually neutral. It's just energy, but it's all there to serve your purpose in waking up, because the universe is benevolent. The universe is loving, and that's what we are. How can we not be that? But if there are any other questions, uh, hi there, Malgozia, great name. Is that a Polish name? Do you know Darius J. Wright? I think I've heard of him, but send me a link. I'll put any links you might have in this video, because then other people can come back. So if you go hop onto you're on YouTube, yeah, I can see that. Cool, I understand that. Put a link. I would love all of you to put any links to any of this stuff in YouTube, and can kind of be a bit of a community where people can come in and check in with these links, and I will have a look at that, because I'm also into knowing more about things, and when you read something, don't get overwhelmed by it. Just read it, and your body will take on what is right for you. Phil, hello brother, how are you? What have you said? Great to see you. Thanks man. I was about to head to bed. I'm glad you didn't. I know in New Zealand it's a lot later. Appreciate it. I'll have to have you on this show when I start having people on shows soon. You'll be my first guest. Okay, here we go. Back to old Greg. It's not an older version of me. It's actually just a different person now. Greg. Jehovian Anunnaki seals, the J seals for sure, which every human being has implanted on the seventh. Okay. Astral body, which causes it to be basically siphoned out of the top of our heads. Interesting, isn't it? So it's worth to get out there and see what's at play. Don't you want to know what's at play? I mean, it's like if you're a little kitten leaving your house for the first time. Wouldn't you want to look beyond the hedge? So it's worth to look into all of this stuff and feel what feels right for you. One thing I realized though, and I've had things removed from me psychically when I had when I was shown certain implants in the astral that were kind of alien implants, and I felt that there were cameras looking through me. Was it negative? I mean, yeah, it did bother me, because I could feel certain aliens out there communicating. I didn't want them looking through me. So I actually had it removed. I went to an energy healer who was my Reiki master early on, and I didn't tell her a thing. And she said, "Okay, you've got some thing embedded," and she removed it. And in many ways, I felt a bit sad, because I could feel these aliens waving at me. But I didn't want to be involved, because I was feeling dark, and they were coming into my house, and I was kind of calling them into, because I'm an adventurer. But my wife was freaking out because things are moving around the house, and there was alien vibes. And I got to the point where I felt this experience wasn't that good for me. It wasn't really helping me, so I chose to get rid of it. And that's why I often help people who have alien abduction episodes to get beyond that, or people who feel they're being haunted and that kind of stuff. it's literally not, well, for me anyway, rocket science, and I enjoy helping people, and I think we should all help each other. So this is great. Thanks for sharing that, old Greg. Will do. Thanks, Malagosia, for for sharing that. Hang on, what's this doing here? That's clicked there. Whoa. Okay, yeah. Okay, oh, that's fine. Oh no, hang on. I've lost the comments again. I've done something weird, guys. Oh no, I'm back. Okay, I'm still new at this. Oh yeah. Oh, here we go again. Back to, what's that doing that there? Show. Yep. Sorry, it's a bit caught here. There's stuck. There's a comment stuck, so I can't read. When we leave our body, so I've got a comment that seems to be stuck over the other comments, and I can't actually read it. I'll go here. Yeah. When we leave our body rather than through our solar plexus into the phantometric system, who are the ones? Okay. Basically, I'm asking, when you leave your body, are you? Look, I just generally go. It's often very different. I'm not so technical on which chakra I'm leaving. I find going out the crown, third eye is the best thing. So generally, I just sort of, these days I just slide straight out. So it's kind of an easier process in many ways than before. Sorry, I've just got this. One of these comments is hovering there now, and I can't. Going out. Oh, there we go. There. Oh, Greg. Yep. Yes, that's great. Going out through the top of your head, generally out the top of my head, top of the head and third eye, but top of the head is where I generally aim to go out of. So it's a good question. Okay, thanks, Greg. Can you remove these implants? You can remove them, and I can do that for you, Manny. Yeah, if you just go to some energy healer, someone who's a bit au fait with these, and we can remove these out. Really, you can ask for it to be removed as well, or even command it to be removed. We all have sovereign beings, sovereign entities. We just command that to be. Okay. So, geez, it's been a nice group, guys. I do appreciate you all there. Oh, that's better. That comment's finally left. Oh, that's better. Oh, good. So I'm going to sign off now. The video will be available on YouTube straight after this. Do go there and put any comments you want, and even any things you want to share with the others, so everybody can go there. I think that's a really good idea. I'm going to end it now. Great to see you guys. Next week I'll be back. I hope to do a podcast on Friday morning, the Awakening Insiders podcast with Phil, who's there tonight, and also Sol. But we could be having blackouts here because of the cyclone. I'm not sure. But anyway, that'll be posted up on YouTube soon. Otherwise, keep an eye out on subscribe to my YouTube channel, because you'll be notified. Each week I'll be putting up one. Next week it'll be about lucid dreams, how to get lucid generally. So great to chat. I'm signing off. I've got to come up with some kind of sign-off phrase. I'll think about it, some astral kind of thing. But great to see you. Blessings to you all. And I hope to see you all in the astral one day, and see you next week on the Astral Vortex. Thanks, guys. See you.